every single time I see Ghost Game mentioned on Facebook or Instagram or wherever, I just can't help but go into the rabbit hole of what Ghost Game could have been and all the lost potential that it had. So maybe, possibly, by putting what I think about Ghost Game out onto the internet will kind of help quell that urge. And just forewarning, this is going to contain spoilers. Let me start off by saying that I love Ghost Game. I think the Digimon to partner dynamic is perfect. Gamamon is the most adorable, precious baby, and I would die for him. Just look at him! Look at him! Hiro was the best older brother Gamamon could have had. Jellymon had her darling Kiyoshiro, and Ruli and Agoromon were just lovely. And I was amongst the many people that shipped Hiro and Ruli. I'm sorry, but these two belong together, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And as far as I know, this is the first time Digimon had delved into the horror genre. Digimon is no stranger to dark themes. If you've played Cyber Sleuth and the sequel, Hacker's Memory, it got pretty close to the horror genre at some parts, but not fully there. Ghost Game and Survive are the first two pieces of Digimon media that delved into the horror genre. Survive being a lot more extreme than Ghost Game, the horror aspect was a very welcomed and appreciated addition to the franchise. The art style that they used for Ghost Game very much complemented the horror aspect of it. It helped to define Ghost Game from the rest of the franchise. The animation and the soundtrack were both great. When Wisemon first evolved into Seriousmon, it was just beautiful. The animation was spot on, and the Ghost Game soundtrack is one of my go-to soundtracks for when I'm playing Edo Pro. Ghost Game had everything it needed to be the best Digimon series in the franchise, if not a close second to Tamers. The characters were all likable, at least in my opinion, and the animation was great, just it had everything. So why is it that it's so widely regarded amongst the community as the worst entries in the franchise? That is for a pretty simple reason. Ghost Game was missing something very important. A plot. For most of the series, there was no overarching plot to connect everything together, and really only had a plot for the last 3 episodes of a 67 episode anime. It did a fantastic job of world building within the first 20 odd episodes, but it didn't do anything with it, or at least not in any significant way. There are nuggets here and there that kind of expanded on it, somewhat, but it was immediately followed up by basically filler episodes that didn't expand on anything. I've seen several people criticize Ghost Game for it being too much of a Monster of the Week format. But that's the thing. That's kind of the bread and butter of Digimon. We like seeing new and interesting Digimon, or something new and creative with the Digimon that we already know. I'm willing to say that's part of the reason why Adventure 2020 even worked. The actual plot to 2020 was mid in my opinion, but at least it had one. And the Monster of the Week format isn't a bad format. It's perfectly fine as long as it's building up to something. But Ghost Game didn't do that. It acted like it did in episode 66, but it really didn't. An example of this format being done correctly is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and more specifically, Diamond is Unbreakable. The main antagonist, Kira Yoshikage, didn't even make an appearance until episode 17, about halfway through the season. Every episode before that was a different stand user, and the gang trying to find a Toshio, if that's how you pronounce that. During that time, it took the time to world build in the town of Morio, and how stand users are all connected. It built up to when they introduced Kira in the 17th episode. Gulas Gamamon, the main antagonist in Ghost Game, appeared in episode 13, just a little bit after the last encounter with Clockmon, and he was slightly built up there. Those first 13 episodes tried to do what Diamond is Unbreakable did, but it didn't do anything with the momentum it built for itself. The plot was ripe for the picking, right then and there. And Hiro, and Ruli, and Kiyoshiro had a discussion like a couple of episodes later about Gulas Gamamon. But that discussion went nowhere. And Gulas Gamamon made 3 separate appearances after that, before episode 66. And nothing was talked about. They didn't do anything to build off of Gulas Gamamon. And I think the Demon Inside Me plot is kind of bad. I haven't seen too many shows do it well. The only anime that I finished that did it correctly was Bleach. That's for one reason. Hollow Ichigo was not the main antagonist. He was a side antagonist. He occupied enough of Ichigo's attention to be a threat, but Aizen was at the forefront of everyone's attention most of the time. At the end of Ghost Game, Gulas Gamamon mentions the Endbringer, which is set to come to Earth 2,000 years into the future. We don't know what the Endbringer is, but we do know it destroyed Gulas Gamamon's home world. Meaning Gulas Gamamon is an alien, I guess. If the plot made the Endbringer the main antagonist, and it made Gulas Gamamon a side antagonist, parallel to Hollow Ichigo, it probably would have worked better. It may have had that overarching plot that Ghost Game desperately needed. There's a few theories as of why Toei Animation decided to make Ghost Game this way. Some people say it's because of the hack that happened in 2022, but that happened after episode 21, which I think is plenty of time to figure out where the plot's going, especially for a 67 episode anime. Even if they had to rework it a little bit, they had plenty of time. I think they were just going for a non-committal format, and it just didn't work out for them. Digimon does require a little bit of commitment to it in every entry to the franchise. The characters start out small and gradually get stronger over time. And in that time, they learn more about each other and the world around them. That's been the case with every Digimon entry across the franchise. You see a little bit of that in Ghost Game, but not nearly to the point where it should be. Like I said, I love Ghost Game, which is why I'm so disappointed in how it ended. There was a time where I would have recommended Ghost Game. It was one of my top recommendations. And with the knowledge of how it ends, I can't recommend it anymore. You just sort of had to be there for the ride. And now that it's over, if the plot was more prevalent within the anime and Gulas Gamamon was shifted to a side antagonist instead of a main antagonist, it would have probably done a lot better. And I think it would have been the best in the franchise. They had the potential to reach the stars that Gamamon's evolutions were based on, but they crashed into a meteor along the way. Thank you all so much for watching. I had 9 months to think about this, and it's just been under pressure for those 9 months since the anime ended. Let me know what you think about Ghost Game down below, and while you're down there, subscribe to the channel. My name is Vincent. I am the Race Duelist. Goodbye.